Hello, everyone! Welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia.
My name is Aaron.
And we are continuing Mario Month with discussing about the 1986 OVA, Super Mario Brothers, The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach.
Wow, that's a long title.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you think the Borat movies got long titles, but anyway, I digress. So, this is interesting. So, this is an OVA that exclusively came out in Japan. It's not been known for, the rest of the world until fairly recently when digitized copies of the VHS came out, and then there was the massive 4K restoration project that was done in 2021 to 2022. So it's an interesting, discovery, a little gem that we found, within Nintendo lore, and I guess given the fact that this took place, just maybe in the middle of the Famicom boom. So this was when the Nintendo console was getting very popular. So a organization known as Koopa Studios, which then teamed up with Sakachu to release this OVA, and this actually did make it out, and we and I were talking about this. This was not only just a direct-to-video release, it was released on VHS and Betamax, but this actually did get a limited release in around 200 theaters across Japan.
Yes.
So this has been an interesting little gem in Nintendo history.
Yeah, so they collaborated with Nintendo to make this OVA, and in addition to that, they were doing a lot of promotional things for Mario that, they wanted to cash in on the boom of the Famicom because it was so massively huge in Japan. And this OVA came out 1 month after Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, we're not referring to the American Super Mario Bros. 2. We're talking about the Lost Levels. And now it's relevant because we actually do have the All-Stars pack in there. So.
And also we have the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunter, the thing that's apparently, part of the NES Punk's made a coffee table out of. So, see if you can get the reference. But here's the thing. So what's interesting about this is that, obviously we talked before about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and talking about, the cartoons that came out of that. And it would have been interesting if instead of that, we kind of got something that was based on this OVA rather than kind of like what we ended up getting with Deke Entertainment. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if we'd had this instead. So let's give this some really good discussion and let's see where we go with this.
Yeah, sure. So, it starts off with Mario playing with his Famicom and he's staying up all night beating this video game. And Luigi is saying, well, it's late, he should go to bed. And then pops out of the television is Princess Peach, and she is being chased by King Koopa. And it's, she's actually Princess Peach. She's always been known as Princess Peach, even in Japan. And it wasn't until Super Mario 64 in which she was officially called Princess Peach for us Americans. But for the 80s and the early to mid 90s, she was Princess Toadstool.
Okay, just to give everyone a bit of warning as well, is that we actually watched the 4K restoration project that was made in 2021 and 2022, and we suspect that the subtitles that are in that are fan-generated, and so whether they're accurate or not to the Japanese that we're looking at, I've got to be honest, I'm sort of approaching it the same way I approach Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the House of Flying Daggers. I don't actually know what's actually being discussed, whereby the actors, I'm just looking at the subtitles at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. So we're taking this with a grain of salt because, even though that fans were the ones who put together these subtitles, we don't know if it's 100% accurate. So, unfortunately, this was never dubbed into English because this was never released outside Japan. So this is the only way that we can comprehend what they're saying.
Do we really want it dubbed into English, really? Could you have imagined if they did do this? Oh, hey, we're going to release this in an English version. This is in the 80s, by the way. So, we're good grief. What on earth would we have got if, and keep in mind, people who were, transitioning, Japanese anime into English, they didn't always have the greatest voice actors,
No,
to be
they
honest
didn't. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It wasn't until probably, I would argue, the mid to late 90s all the way up until the 2000s in which they actually did get, pretty decent voice actors to perform as these iconic Japanese characters. But, yeah, early voice acting in anime and video games leaves a lot to be desired.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, so Princess Peach jumps over to the television and she approaches Mario saying that she's being chased by King Koopa. And King Koopa is kidnapping her because he wants to marry her. And this is something that wouldn't be prominent until like some of the later Mario games. I mean, as early as obviously with like the Super Mario Brothers, in which he does kidnap Princess Peach, but I think he mostly did it because he wanted to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, not because he wanted to marry her. And also, as late as Super Mario Odyssey, the whole game is about Bowser kidnapping Princess Peach because he wants to marry her, and they have this whole wedding and everything. And so Mario has to go and traverse all of these worlds so that he can be able to rescue her. And so, yeah, I mean, we have Mario and Luigi going over to the Mushroom Kingdom so that they can be able to save Princess Peach from King Koopa.
Even though, before we get to that, the one thing I found pretty jarring, these guys are not plumbers in this. They're grocery store owners.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, like, I found that kind of jarring.
It is very jarring, but then again, they weren't set into being plumbers immediately. Remember, this is 1986. We only had 2 Mario games, which is Mario 1 and the Japanese Mario 2.
Well, we had Jumpman before that, and I think the idea, mind you, even Jumpman was like, where he just kind of was just going up the ceiling of the building to go rescue the princess from Donkey Kong. So
and then we had Wrecking Crew.
Pauline, I should say, sorry.
Yeah, that was Pauline, yeah. And then we had Wrecking Crew, where Mario and Luigi were construction workers. So I guess they didn't fully establish them as plumbers just as yet. But then again, Mario has had so many occupations at this point.
Mind you, like, he retired from plumbing years ago at this point, so like, right now he's just video game character.
Yeah, he's been a doctor, he's been a construction worker, he's been he's been so many things. I mean, yeah, there's like a whole video dedicated to listing all the occupations that Mario's been a part of. It's almost as jarring and as just unbelievable as like, oh, these are all the jobs that Homer Simpson has ever gotten in The Simpsons. So yeah, we're up to that levels of ridiculousness. But yeah, so they're grocery store owners, and they run this little tiny grocery store over into the desert, which is actually really interesting because whenever that modern interpretations has the Mario Brothers in a location, they're in Brooklyn, New York. They're not. They're actually just located in the desert somewhere, which kind of reminds me of Odyssey, in which like you have this desert setting, and you have all these cacti, and you have all these people dressed up in sombreros and ponchos and stuff like that.
It is kind of weird. Like, I don't think they even decided that they were Italian yet from the looks of it.
I don't think so, no.
No, like, it's so, the one thing also thing that's kind of jarring about this as well is that, I mean, obviously Mario plays the hero in this, and by the way, he always plays the hero in whatever he's in. So, like, I mean, that's sort of like his trait in all of this. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say this is the thing about this, though. I think that sort of kind of goes in his favor, but then also goes against him as well, because besides being the hero, like, he doesn't really, besides, being in love with the princess, and besides, a few other things, having this, very, very brotherly relationship he has with Luigi. I mean, like, he doesn't really have anything else, like, outside of that, really.
No, there's not really much of a personality, but then again, with the 2 Mario games that came out before, Mario didn't have a personality.
Yeah, exactly, and, but then there's Luigi, and, like, he's just a... It's funny because, like, in the modern Mario games, and even, like, renditions before that, even going from between Super Mario Brothers Super Show all the way up to Luigi's Mansion, he was always kind of like this kind of scaredy cat kind of, like, character, and, like, it was up to his brother and, like, all the other characters to, like, make him do the things that he was going to do. He was very avoidant in, like, getting involved in confrontation. But in this, like, he is sort of avoiding a confrontation himself, but, like, he's just distracted all the time by, by money. Like, he wants as much money as he possibly can. And he's disappointed every time he loses it all, and like that's his main focus, and he's always like distracted away from like the main plot of the movie, and he's not very likable in this movie, Luigi.
No, he's not. Like he reminds me.
He's not even green.
No, he's not green in this one because again they didn't fully establish his color just as yet. Because if you played obviously Super Mario Brothers, I mean it just basically is just player 1, player 2. One is Mario and one is Luigi. So they didn't establish the color scheme until later on with some people would argue with Super Mario Brothers 2 the American version, or with Super Mario Brothers 3, in which like, oh yeah, now we can have player 2 be like an individual character that is not just a palette swap of Mario. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, even in Wrecking Crew, they didn't set Luigi's color yet where he was purple. So yeah, you have Luigi with a yellow shirt and blue overalls, which, usually he'd be wearing green, but no, not in this interpretation. He's yellow.
Yeah, and like me today.
Yes.
Also the one thing is that that also is a change is that they teamed up with a dog character called Kibadango, and I just thought, oh hey, you're just gonna give this cute mascot, and so that buy the toys, kids. I think that's what that's always there for. But no, there's we'll get towards the end, but there's a surprising twist that's the reason why he's involved in this. So
yes.
You've got Mario and Luigi, you've got this cute dog companion, and so I think we're pretty much set for our adventure.
Yeah. So they meet up with this old wizardy guy that kind of looks like Gandalf, and he tells them what he needs to do to save Princess Peach. That they have to collect these 3 items along the way. They have to get the mushroom, the flower, and the star. And he also tells them that King Koopa had cast a curse on the Mushroom Kingdom, turning the toads into blocks and to coins, which it is actually in the Japanese manual that is what King Koopa does in the original Super Mario Brothers. So nice touch, by the way. And so along the way, they have to find these 3 items. They have to rescue the toads, and they have to rescue Princess Peach right before the full moon comes in, which is where they're going to be officially married. And then they have the dog with them, and so the dog is really cute and it's adorable, and I guess it makes a lot of sense because this was before Yoshi became a major character. So I guess you have Mario and Luigi with his little dog companion, and they're going around in the different parts of the Mushroom Kingdom to find these 3 items, rescue the toads, and rescue Princess Peach.
Well, let's talk about our antagonists, because we have Bowser in this, and my favorite interpretation of Bowser has obviously been Jack Black's performance in the Super Mario Brothers movie, and he did a phenomenal job doing that, and he basically went all over with this as well. He was even going to Comic-Con where he was sitting on a throne and pretending to be Bowser. So it was fantastic to see that.
Yeah.
I got to give this Bowser his due. He's not just I'm just the bad guy, and I'm going to kind of kill the princess and force him to marry me. Funny enough, he does get wrapped up in being romantically involved with Peach in this, and he does have feelings towards it, somewhat in the Super Mario Brothers movie. But also he's a bit of a goofball as well. He easily falls for Princess Peach's traps in this, and so at one point he gets locked in a box, but thankfully, because he's a more powerful, Koopa, he can able to get out and be able to continue to punish Peach. But he's not a one-dimensional villain in this. He has feelings, and Japanese animes tend to have at least the good ones anyway, don't tend to have one-dimensional characters and all.
No,
of
they
this.
don't. That's one of the major reasons why Japanese anime caught on so much in the mid to late 90s, was because it had not only characters that were just so interesting and it developed more as time went on, but also they had an ongoing story arc that got you hooked every single time. And so that's why anime blew up, and that's why Saturday morning cartoons were just seen as passe, because it's this is something that we talked about in Super Mario Brothers Super Show, but the characters and the episodes were just so samey and just so not fun to watch that we just didn't want to continue looking through it anymore.
Yeah, so if you want your favorite character to be have more dimension in a movie, let's hope that a Japanese person is doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is true. King Koopa is such a simp. He's just so kind and he's so considerate of wanting to get
to a degree. Well, only to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, yes. He keeps calling Peach sweetie, and he's just so trying to charm her with jewelry and trying to have this.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder, is it controlling behavior though? The fact that he doesn't get the same sort of responses from Peach, and then all of a sudden he gets angry and continues to get you locked in the tower. It's a very abusive relationship.
It is very abusive, yeah. So it is very manipulative and is very controlling, which it does really fit with his character. So I will give it that. But the way that he's but you just can't be helped but be smitten with him. It's he's just he's just a big goofball who wants to get with Princess Peach.
But I think that's what plays to its strengths really in this OVA, is the fact that unfortunately, while there's other characters where they're somewhat Luigi, unfortunately, really, like, I would say he's one note. Like, he does have a couple of other notes, to his character, but, like, everybody else in regards to, like, all the other enemies. I mean, for example, like, the Goombas, the Koopas, and, even Lakatu, and some of the other characters that Mario and Luigi go into, they're just exaggerated anime characters, really. Like, they're not any other different from, like, all the other, like, sub-enemies that you usually get in, like, other, forms of anime, material.
Sure.
So, like, that was sort of a bit of a disappointment, really. Like, you have the Goombas, which kind of like, they're just kind of like the comedy duo. They're no different from, like, Martin Short and, like, the other guy and, like, the Prince of Egypt.
Oh,
where, like,
you were talking about Steve Martin.
Steve Martin and Martin Short, like, they play the, like, the underling priests, in the Prince of Egypt. So, like, they're sort of kind of like that sort of, like, generic duo.
Yeah.
Or, like, maybe even, like, the two ghosts in, like, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, like, Bogo and Weird. And, like, so for me, just, when it was kind of annoying when, like, when you kind of came up against, a boss character, and it just ends up kind of like being, oh, I'm just evil, and I'm just doing, Bowser's bidding. I would have thought, oh, I'd like to hear, like, something a bit more, like, if anything, like, the Hammer Koopa ended up kind of like being the one that had the most, developed, making, like, jokes about hammers and stuff, but I mean, even that's not very much.
Yeah, and also, you have you have the Lackey 2 who decides that he's going to be throwing all of these spikes, and then he's going to cause the rain to fall down and controlling it with his cloud, and then you have, like, these spiky Koopas, and you have them, coming together and try to attack them.
That's the one thing I'll give credit for this OVA is the fact that they actually, sat down with the game and decided, oh, hey, this is what, this movie is going to be, and this is how all the characters are basically going to this is what we're going to do with them all. It's a complete opposite from what they did with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, where they were just kind of just throwing things at the wall and just hoping it would stick. They actually did, this OVA actually does the Super Mario, game some justice.
Yeah.
In this.
I mean,
like, what you get in this OVA is what you get in the game.
Yeah, you have the music, you have the enemies, you have, the characters. You even have things that would come, like, decades later in the video game, or even, like, shortly afterwards. Like, they have an airship, and that wouldn't come in until Super Mario Bros. 3. When Mario fights King Koopa, he swings him around with his tail, just like in Super Mario 64. You have them in a desert level, which is very similar to Odyssey and Super Mario Bros. 3 and other desert levels. So, yeah, I mean, it does play into some of the stuff that was in the game at the time, and stuff that would come in much later. So, yeah, it's ahead of a curve of this one, unlike Super Mario...
It makes you wonder if Nintendo hit this on purpose because they were using it basically to, like, influence some of their future games that were going to be coming out a couple of decades later.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned before, that this was a lost piece of media for the longest time. I mean, it was released on VHS and Betamax, but it was never released on DVD. And so when people were uploading it on YouTube, they were just getting whatever, VHS clippings that they were able to find. And then eventually...
It makes you wonder if they'll release it on the Nintendo store at least, or maybe, like, maybe it might be like an Easter egg that, like, appears, like, in a future Mario game.
That would be really great. Yeah, like...
Or, what if they release it as, like, a DVD or a Blu-ray extra in, like, the Super Mario Galaxy, if they ever release that.
Oh, that'd be so great.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. Like, when the Super Mario Brothers movie, the Illumination one, came out in Japan, it's like, oh, they could have had this as, like, an extra for their Blu-ray or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knows? Like, well, mind you, it's out there in the world now for free, so, like, I think I'm not too sure how worthwhile it will be doing an official release of it now, but, I mean, who knows? Maybe Nintendo might, do a good job of it compared to, like, what's compared to the 4K version that's on YouTube.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so I really do like the fact that they were able to have really great details with the animation. I mean, shout out to the person who did the 4K restoration. It looks gorgeous.
It does, actually, yeah.
It looks absolutely amazing, like the colors and the details with all of the set pieces. I mean, everything just looks fantastic.
Yeah, it must have been pretty hard to, like, say, okay, well, we're going to say the 8mm and we're going to, like, blow it up to as much as we could. And I mean, like, it's funny because any sort of media that has been, like, filmed in this format has managed to, like, go through the 4K restoration experience. There's actually, like, a 1970s music video video that actually got that treatment, and people looked at it and thought, oh wow, this looks like it was like filmed today.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so it's interesting to see now that a lot of this media is starting to kind of come to the forefront, and now it's getting the 4K restoration treatment, and long may it continue actually.
Yeah,
because
like
the way it's meant to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, like almost a decade ago, in which when Popeye the Sailor Man meets Sinbad the Sailor was resurrected into 4K, filmed at 60 frames per second, and they just saw, oh wow, this is like super smooth, and this is like super detailed and really
it almost
colorful.
looks 3D as well.
Yeah.
Like that's how crazy it looks.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that just goes to show you about how far we've come in terms of like preserving our animation. But yeah, I mean, the story for the most part is pretty simple. I mean, you just have Mario and Luigi going over to these different worlds, and they meet up with the different enemies that you would see from the games, like, the Goombas, the Koopa Troopas, the Lackey 2, the Hammer Brothers. So yeah, and then they would obviously be collecting the power-ups as they go along. They see the Toads and they rescue them, which interesting that the interpretation of the main Toad, the one who says like, oh, your princess is in another castle, is a female as opposed to a male. I guess they haven't fully established that Toad is a male yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And and then you have like this one moment in which that they were captured and they were sent over to like a dungeon, and so you have this interesting set piece where Mario is dreaming about being with Princess Peach because he is falling in love with her, which usually in a lot of Mario interpretations it's like, oh, he's rescuing the princess so that he could be able to save her and prevent King Koopa from taking over the Mushroom Kingdom. But I don't think love was ever a factor in any of these, as far as I know.
I mean, I think in a way it was. I mean, the funny thing about this is that, and you can say that a lot of Japanese material at that time was obviously framed around this, but so there is a very romantic atmosphere to, this OVA, and, I mean, they do try and, it looks like to me, they do try and play up this sort of, like, this relationship between, Mario and Princess Peach, even though they're not really together, and, I guess we can get towards the end of it there, where we find out that the dog is actually, the prince from, the Flower Kingdom, and he's actually the fiance to Princess Peach.
Yeah.
And I would have thought it was kind of, disappointing that it kind of ended that way in a sense, and because all it basically is that Mario and Luigi just pick up their things and then the credits roll and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's the end of it. Like, it's just, it ends so suddenly, and it's like, I don't know if they just ran out of time or if they just...
No, I mean, usually a lot of Japanese anime usually do that. I mean, even a lot of Studio Ghibli films, they just end so abruptly and just feeling like, oh wait, that's it? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they try and play out the credits as much as they can, but all they do is kind of just play the same, romantic theme that, was played during the bit when Mario was locked up in the prison. But then we get to the post credit sequence where it's the old lady who comes and buys more stuff out of the store, and then finds out it's Bowser actually that's running the store.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a bit hilarious, I think you could say.
Yeah, and I mean, there actually are song cues in this OVA. There's 4 of them. There's Doki Doki Do It. There's the regular version and the rock version by Mirai Doji. Then there's Ado My Love by Chikako Ishikawa. And then there's Crystal Ball by Mami Yamase. And the music is actually really soft and filled with love and romance. And it's just go Mario, go. And, being really up and, really up and very optimistic. And so, yeah, I mean, it just plays off that way. And then you have the music and the sound effects from the video games as well, which, is also a nice touch. I mean, they have the underground level, they have the water levels, they go over to the gardens. They have a lot of different set pieces that would be very familiar to the video games, which is a nice touch. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about it. I just thought it was a very solid OVA, considering that it was just only, 2 games that they had reference to, and they were able to be a lot more accurate than what, any of the DiC cartoons were able to do, in strides.
I'm just amazed because, it's funny because AVGN always says, only in Japan, and that can only mean 2 things, either, it's really, really good or it's really, really bad. So,
it's
well, this is actually really, really good.
Yeah, it's true. Like AVGN, whenever he would talk about like a video game that was only released in Japan, he would say, "Oh, it's either one of two camps. It's the best of them, or it was the worst of them."
Yeah. So I think looking at this is that I mean, in regards to Mario adaptations, I mean, how closely would you say this is compared to like all the other media that including the Super Mario Brothers movie itself?
Okay, so we're talking about. Okay, so now that we've said that it was accurate to the games that came out at the time, how does it compare to all the other games that will come out decades later?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I said it earlier that it does do a lot of things that would be featured in later Mario games. The airship, the way that Mario was able to fight off King Koopa and defeat him, very similar to Mario 64. You have yeah, like a whole bunch of different set pieces that, are still consistent. Like, the bad guys are still consistent. You still have Goombas. You still have Koopa Troopas. You still have Lackey 2. You still have the spiny beetles. You still have Floopers and Cheep Cheep. So, yeah, those, enemies are still consistent. Bowser is still a consistent villain, has always been. And, yeah, I mean, his main motivation is Princess Peach. And, yeah, once again, just like and Princess Peach is actually called Princess Peach, and she actually does have blonde hair and blue eyes, very similar to how she was in the video games. And I know that in the, original Mario Brothers, I mean, they made it look like she had red hair as opposed to having blonde hair. But if you see the original manual, she's always had blonde hair and blue eyes. The only reason why they had her with red hair is because they had a limited amount of colors to work with. So they basically took the same color as the fire from the Bowser stages and the fire flower that Mario and Luigi would be in, and then just put it into her hair and to her dress. And that's literally the only reason why. In canon, she has blonde hair and blue eyes, and she's always been called Princess Peach. So again, very consistent.
Yeah, I guess, at least in my opinion, I mean, it's very strange that, Nintendo, I mean, I guess maybe they looked at it and thought, the Western audiences won't get this.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because at the time, in 1986, there was only one Mario game, and that was Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess, maybe they thought that, an American audience wouldn't catch on to it just yet. It wouldn't be until a few years later in which that, we would get the other Mario games in which, like, the Nintendo caught on like wildfire.
Yeah. So, I think, in closing, I think of this is that, I mean, obviously, maybe they looked at this and thought, this is partly marketing, I think, obviously.
Obviously.
But, the one thing I would say about it is that it's marketed very well. I mean, if that's the case.
I mean, there are some obvious things that saying like, oh yeah, this was supposed to be for marketing. Like you have like one scene in which when Mario and Luigi are eating from Mario ramen and
Mario... not like today.
or Mario rice seasoning. That is so Japan.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I mean, the reason why is because when they were releasing the film in theaters, I mean there was a lot of other things that were being released alongside it to promote the movie, and they did actually release like ramen packets and rice seasoning and a whole bunch of other things. It's not like today in which like, oh, when a movie comes out, you have the Mario breakfast cereal and you have the Mario
hang on a second. We haven't seen the Mario Galaxy movie yet, so like there's still plenty of time for them to disappoint us with like just shoehorning in as much product as they can.
That's true. Yeah, I can't wait to see the Mario Fanta soda.
Can you imagine they did that? Like it's like, oh hey, here's all the Mario Galaxy swag that you can get, and basically this ends up being kind of like Wayne's World, where all the stuff is like, it's like they just do this like just to make the money, like it's like. So, I mean, like, in closing, I mean, I have to say, in regards to a Mario OVA and in regards to, a hour-long feature for, just to say what Mario Brothers is, I mean, like, this is a very good attempt.
Yeah, it is a very good attempt. And yeah, there are some things that wouldn't carry on from the later Mario games, like, the dog never appears anywhere else. Luigi...
Well, I think it was just for that movie, like,
sure.
It was just to carry the plot for that. But with you, I thought it was a bit unnecessary. Like I would have like had it where Mario and Peach had like not like have like a direct romantic relationship, but like it kind of like still hinted at it as Mario then left and left the whole prince thing out of it. If you ask me, I think the dog character, I think on its own, I think would have been just a cute added addition to the OVA. I think the idea like it was disguised as a prince this entire time. Like as far as I'm concerned, that never happened in the game.
No,
exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was a bit of an unnecessary addition. But besides that, I mean, like,
and also
yeah.
Luigi's personality. I mean,
Oh yeah, Luigi's personality also needed to change as well. But again, they didn't know who that was, until he finally started like branching out on his own. And it's not like today where he's scared to death to go into like a haunted mansion and or he's he's not the character that we know today, where like he stands in the middle of Mario Party and does absolutely nothing to win games. I mean, like it's like anyone knows that reference. But yeah, like I think you have to. There are some bits where you have to forgive it, and I think there are some times when there are some legit criticisms for this OVA. But besides that, I mean, it's very well done.
Yeah, I would say it's very well done. I mean, sure, there are some minor things that don't fit in with the later incarnations, but for the most part, they were able to knock it out of the park with some of the things they got right.
Yeah. So if we had to rate this, I mean, like. I'm sort of going towards 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 sounds fair.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
It's a very solid film, yeah. So if you ever have the chance to do it, then please watch the 4K restoration on YouTube. It's well worth it.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think this year, this is the first time I think we've covered a review that only lasted half an hour. Good grief, we've been on like an hour-long rants about, all sorts of things. So
That's true.
It's nice to have a nice, pleasant conversation about something that only lasts a certain amount of time.
Well, yeah, get used to, unfortunately, we're going to go back into our long discussions because the next movie we're going to be covering is the first theatrical attempt from America, and that is the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie.
After talking about this, I completely forgot about that. And now that I've remembered it, please pray for us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.